What happens when you take every major woodworking tool and combine it all into one machine? In theory, you have the most efficient and compact home workshop ever built. But if that's the case, why aren't these machines more popular today? To understand this, today we're taking a deep dive inside this 1955 Shopsmith Mark V catalog to see just why this ultimate all-in-one home woodworking solution never quite took off, despite its high functionality and cult following. Was it a jack of all trades and master of none, or was it just misunderstood? But to understand why this tool even existed in the first place, you have to understand what life in America was like around this time. In the 1950s, when this catalog was published, the DIY movement was exploding. GIs were back home buying houses in the suburbs, and they needed the ability to build and fix things. But they didn't have big barns to fill with power tools, they had one-car garages. So it wasn't just about cutting wood, it was about saving space. And so, to answer this demand, Magna Engineering brought to the market the Shopsmith Mark V, which promised that you could fit an entire workshop into a 2x6 foot space. And in true 1950s fashion, they did not compromise on quality. At this time, their machines were equipped with a heavy-duty 3/4 horsepower motor with a built-in fan, so it stays cool even under continuous load. And with a speed dial, which enabled the user to toggle from 700 to 5200 RPMs without turning off the motor. And the frame was built from heavy-duty centerless ground steel tubing and machined cast iron parts to ensure near-perfect alignment of components. Not to mention the use of hard chrome plating throughout to ensure smooth action when making adjustments or changing tool functions. And at the heart of the machine was the spindle, fitted with lubricated for life ball bearings, with runout held to a standard of less than 1/1000th of an inch for maximized precision. So, with such a quality machine, it makes you wonder why it wasn't more popular. But in trying to accomplish everything with one single machine, that doesn't come without compromises. With any tool, there are 4 main factors at play: quality, capability, convenience, and cost. And rarely can you have all 4. The Shopsmith was clearly a quality tool, and as far as capability, was without a doubt one of the most capable tools on the market. But as far as convenience, this is probably where the largest topic of debate comes into play. While it was convenient in that it squeezed an entire workshop into a single compact tool that saved space, there was a significant learning curve to learn how to operate these machines correctly, even to seasoned woodworkers. But we'll touch on this more later in the video. And lastly, price was also a significant factor. In 1955, these machines sold for $289.50, which in today's money is the equivalent of spending around $3,500. Given that back then the average annual household income was somewhere between $4,000 to $5,000, this was a significant purchase. And while this was expensive, if you compare that to buying an entire workshop full of new tools at the time, it was a good value. But the issue was that while this was a good value, it was a relatively high price to pay all at once. It was too much of an upfront capital commitment for the entry-level hobbyist woodworker, who likely wouldn't be looking to purchase the equivalent of an entire workshop of new tools all on day one. And it was self-admittedly not intended for a professional woodworking shop, where dedicated machines that are dialed in and ready to be used in an instant with no setup time by one or many carpenters is essential to their profitability. However, for the more experienced home woodworker who is limited on space, had the capital, and was willing to take the time to learn how to understand how to use all of the tool's functions correctly, this was a great solution and a worthwhile investment. And yet at the same time, the person that would have enough income to buy this machine outright might also be the person who had a larger house with a 2-car garage, where they might have the space to purchase dedicated individual machines. So while this was a highly functional and valuable tool, it lived in a somewhat limited niche. But now let's fast forward to today. To date, there have been over 500,000 Shopsmith machines sold, and to their credit, they were built so well that most of them are still around to this day. So if that's the case, why are so many of them still collecting dust? And like with many power tools that have been misunderstood and neglected over the years, such as the radial arm saw, which I covered in a recent video, it all comes down to the proper education. I must admit that When I first came across one of these machines, I thought that they seemed like a jack of all trades that would be annoying to reconfigure every time you wanted to change tools, and that there must be significant compromises made in the functionality of the tools in order to offer all of these functions. But the more I've learned about them, the more it has become evident that an incredible amount of thought and engineering went into ensuring that these were safe and highly functional tools, and that they have clearly been misunderstood. But it's not too late for the Shopsmith. What is so exciting now is that a new chapter for the Shopsmith has begun, and there's another opportunity for this tool to have a chance to land in home workshops across America again. While the Shopsmith brand has had its ups and downs over the years, it has recently been revived and taken under new ownership in January of this year, and appears to have a bright future ahead of itself. Because the fact is, we have been seeing another massive boom in the DIY community, and the number of people who are looking for an accessible way to enter the hobby without breaking the bank or sacrificing quality is at an all-time high. And even in today's market, convenience and saving space is still a huge selling point. Whether it's for someone who's a seasoned woodworker living in a small condo, or a person who has decided to dedicate their garage space to working on cars, but still wants to have the ability to work on the occasional woodworking project. And so, the success of the new era of the Shopsmith will ultimately depend on their ability to continue to innovate and grow the brand, while fixing what the last generation of this business failed, which is marketing and education, meaning both communicating the value of these tools and, more importantly, demystifying the perceived difficulty of using them both safely and effectively. While the older generations might know this, to many in the newer generations, this information is mostly lost on them, despite all of the information that can easily be found online and in manuals. And to that effect, that means supporting the existing communities of people who have been using Shopsmith tools for decades, and enlisting these people to help educate the existing and new markets about these tools, whether it be proper use or how to fix up that old Shopsmith that's been collecting dust in the corner of your grandparents' basement and get it up and running again. And on that note, Shopsmith is one of the last remaining power tool manufacturers in America, still located in Dayton, Ohio, that still supports their old stuff. They intentionally haven't changed the basic mounting design in 70 years. You can buy a brand new modern headstock today and bolt it onto a 1955 frame. So, with that said, if you're looking to get into the hobby, or if you're a woodworker who had to give up their workshop due to lack of space, hop on Facebook Marketplace and buy that Shopsmith that's for sale for a couple $100. You might even find one for free, and use the resources that are already out there to learn how to fix it up, dial it in, and use it properly. It'll be well worth the effort. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing for more vintage tool history every week.